Hi, I'm April. I'm an editor, animator, and Tongaler, and I'm going to be taking you through the who, what, when, where, why, and how of creating multiple assets for one campaign.
In the first video, we took a look at the social media landscape and how brands are using different platforms. In this video, we'll be taking a look at strategies for making a suite of social assets. Social suites are great projects to flex a lot of different creative muscles, but with all of the different types of assets, it can be easy to lose focus. So first, let's think about cohesion. Most social suite requests are looking for assets that can all work together and feel that they are from the same campaign, even if the executions are very different. Some ways to achieve this. Use a consistent color palette. We see here how fellow Tongalers KR² Productions use a very consistent color palette with their graphics and even the photos throughout their grid. Another strategy is to have a similar graphic setup for each asset. Lemonade Insurance does this by making sure each animation has a similar graphic element of the center line or center S-curve line, creating consistency between posts. Our next strategy is to repeat a logo, character, or product, and we see this in another great collection from South by Southwest. And another strategy is to keep landing on the same message or tagline, like in the Reese's University assets here. Now, we talked about moving beyond just reframes and cutdowns in the first video, but now we want to talk about approaches for that. Each aspect ratio offers a different way to use the space, and we should be planning our executions based on those shapes. For instance, how differently can we utilize the vertical space of Instagram stories versus the square space of Instagram's in-feed posts? Again, this is thinking beyond the reframe. And in fact, thinking about entirely new framings as we plan these different assets. And after all these technically based creative considerations, we always have to remember audience and platform considerations. A vertical video on TikTok can have a very different feel from a vertical video on Instagram Reels. Or a still for Facebook might be for a cover photo, but on Instagram it may need to be 3 connecting posts in feed that look great both as squares and as a grid collection. For more specifics on the differences between audiences on the social media sites, look at the Vertical Video Workshop from mentor Ryan Larkin. He has tons of great information and tips related to different audiences on different platforms. And also remember that social media sites are constantly changing, so keep up to date with the Tongal 101 Social Best Practices PDFs as well. You may have noticed more and more social suite briefs popping up on Tongal recently, so I wanted to give some tips on how to come up with ideas for your own pitches. First step is always to read the brief. Take note of what assets they're looking for, who their audience is, and what they're going to be using these assets for. Next, do your research. What social channels are they using? What kinds of assets are they using on each of them? What tones and styles are they using? Look at the audience engagement as well. What's working well and what hasn't. And take a look at the brand style sheet and their website to get a full picture of the brand. And then last step, back to the brief. Now that you have a better idea of the brand in the wild, how does this change your initial ideas? How can you utilize their strengths or address their weaknesses with this suite? Now that we know what the brand is looking for, it's time to come up with ideas. As we're working, we need to remember, how can we engage the intended audience? What existing brand assets do we have to work with? What are the brand's vibes for each platform? What technical considerations should we think about to optimize for each platform? What are we using to create cohesion? Now, sometimes the ideas don't come fast and easy, and when that happens, I have a couple of exercises that I do when I'm stuck. And in case you haven't heard these before, I wanted to share them with you. First is the mind dump. I set a timer for 15 minutes and then keep writing down ideas no matter how terrible I think they are until my timer beeps. I've learned to do this without judgment because I've seen some really bad ideas become better ideas with a little work, and sometimes it's just a relief to make space in my brain for better ideas. Usually, by the time this is done, I've gotten past the low-hanging fruit and am exploring ideas a bit further up the tree. My second exercise is the polar opposite. It's literally to walk away. When the ideas aren't coming and I keep getting stuck on something that just won't work itself out, I take a break and do a task that is easy to accomplish without thinking. This can be anything from taking a walk outside without headphones on, or, like, doing the dishes, What happens is my brain just starts to churn in the background, and then the solution will have the space to appear. Many artists talk about having their best ideas in the shower. This is that. So I hope I've provided some strategies for creating cohesion and connecting assets, as well as a few ways to combat a creative block. In the next video, I'll be showing you some techniques for using stickers across multiple asset types as a way to create connection between the assets. See you there.